Good evening, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone to this evening's session. Karachi is Pakistan's boom town, still booming. Well, I'm sure we'll have lots of complicated and interesting answers to that question. But first, what does it mean to be a boom town? Historically, under the British Raj, Karachi developed as an economic hub because it occupied a strategic location for both trade and war. And when Pakistan was formed, Karachi had, and perhaps was the only town that had, an established infrastructure, institutions, and communities that made it a vibrant economic hub, and it remains, therefore, the business center of Pakistan. As such, Karachi has attracted and continues to attract large migrant populations seeking economic opportunity and social mobility. Whether they actually get it or not, again, is a question that is complicated. Currently, Karachi and Pakistan are said to be experiencing a period of boom. Security is perceived to be better. CPAC is perceived to be opening up new avenues and boosting confidence. Property prices are up, especially for purchasing, indicating that people are willing to make long-term investments. Foreign exchange reserves have hit new peaks, 23 billion USD apparently in October. And generally, consumer confidence and investor confidence is felt to be high. One of the big questions that I think this panel is particularly well set up to answer, though, is how much is this boom actually having an impact on the lives of the majority of Karachi's denizens who live in Kachi Abadis and other low-income neighborhoods? So I think maybe we'll just proceed in order. Haris, since you're sitting next to me, Haris Gazdar is the director of the Collective for Social Science Research. He has done a lot of work on social policy, demography, economics, and other aspects of life in Karachi. So Haris, what do you have to say? Is Karachi still booming?
So I think Karachi is, can you hear me? I think Karachi has been historically a boom town. It's not on. So I think I break it down into 4 questions, one which you didn't ask. I think Karachi historically has been a boom town in the classical definition of boom towns, that because of some strategic, geographical, historical, or political contingency, it experiences very rapid growth compared to other cities in the region. And Karachi has had that characteristic historically. I think it was a boom town in the mid-19th century when Thatta declined. And a coastal center was required to service the economy of Sindh and Balochistan. It became a boom town again when the British separated it from Sindh and they established a base here. And then it had steady growth, and then it became a boom town again in the 1940s with the partition of India. And the arrival of, it became the political capital, and it also became the recipient of huge inflows of migrants. So Karachi historically has been a boom town. I don't think it's a boom town now. So that's my second point. I don't think it's a boom town now. I don't think it's booming. I think it can become a boom town again. And my fourth point, which you didn't ask, is I think not being a boom town is a good thing for Karachi.
Okay.
So let me just work through that argument. I think boom towns, a lot of important cities in the world, especially in the continents which were colonized, North America, South America, Australia, a lot of these cities have been boom towns because it was virtually an invasion and a colonization of territory which was seen as virgin territory. Of course, there were native people there, but they had to be displaced. So the concept of boom towns is really very often associated with a major political shift, a major shift in military power, and a major discovery of economic resource. So Karachi has undergone all of these things. Sometimes because of geographical changes, like climate change. There was a major geographical shift in the Indus Delta, which led to Karachi growing in the mid-19th century. Then a political shift with the British taking over, and then another political shift. So if a major shift happens in terms of ecology or politics, then Karachi can become a boom town again. But there's a problem with boom towns. Very often, boom towns end up as being ghost towns. Right? So a lot of boom towns historically have become ghost towns because they were not able to sustain the impetus of growth. So the good thing about Karachi is that I think a lot of demographic data are telling us that it has stabilized into a sustainable pattern of growth. That stabilization is good for demography. So it is, I think, undergoing a demographic stabilization. Karachi's rate of growth in every decade is higher than the rest of Pakistan, but it is lower than what it was in the previous decade. So over time, Karachi's rate of growth is converging with that of Pakistan. So Karachi will stabilize at around 8% or 9% of Pakistan's population, I think, in the next 10 or 20 years. And that's a good thing. So Karachi's demography, it will stabilize. Along with that, I think we will see, and we are beginning to see, social stabilization and also political stabilization. Both of these things are important. They're important because this is how Karachi can then actually now start contributing to the economy of Pakistan, the economy of Sindh, to development in the entire region, and also in developing good models of urbanity and urban development and urban governance. So I think we've had a great deal of deficit in all of those things. And I think once we have stability in economic growth and in demographic growth, we can actually look forward to a period where we can look to a good urban life. And Karachi has seen those. So a lot of people are nostalgic about times when Karachi both grew and stabilized. And I think Karachi has great potential for being that force for the economy of Sindh, for the economy of Pakistan, and for society as a whole. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Najmuddin Sheikh is a retired diplomat and foreign secretary. And the question I'd like to ask him is, do you think Karachi still occupies a strategic location internationally and regionally that will boost its economy?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Karachi remains our principal port. We hope that, and I think of Karachi and Port Qasim as being Karachi ports rather than being separate ports. When Gwadar develops, Gwadar is going to be looking to a different market and to different access routes. But Karachi will remain the principal outlet for what is genuinely seen as Karachi's hinterland. And that hinterland extends up to Peshawar. So this is going to be, obviously, as the Pakistan economy grows, Karachi is going to continue to grow purely on the basis of being the maritime outlet for Pakistan's products and for Pakistan's import needs. So I think Karachi, I see great merit in what has been said earlier about stabilization, but I am, in a sense, I'm a little bit of a misfit in this group because I have no particular expertise on Karachi's problems and what can prevent it from growing as it should. But I do see now, and this is what makes me optimistic, is that in 1948, I moved to Karachi from Hyderabad and used to go home for vacations. And every time I came back, it seemed that Karachi had been transformed. Building was going on at such a rapid rate. And in the last year and a half, I'm seeing the same thing happen again. Karachi's construction rates are phenomenally higher than they have been in the past 3-4 years. Perhaps it's a reflection of the improved security situation. Perhaps it is the expectation that there is an economic boom in the making, or perhaps there is the expectation that there will be much more happening in Karachi's hinterland than has been the case over the last few years. Of course, there are problems, but the fact that the security situation has improved, which was mentioned earlier, that there are lots of problems with regard to law and order. I think crime rates, street crime, continues to be high, but those things that shook business confidence have now been reduced. I don't say that they've been eliminated, but they have been reduced. And as a result, I think investment both in construction and perhaps in industrialization is beginning to come in and may develop fast. Now, one other aspect that I thought one should touch upon is what is going to be the effect of the expected investment from the Chinese-Pakistan economic corridor, and what impact will it have on Karachi. I don't think that one should expect that anything that goes through the China-Pakistan economic corridor is necessarily going to detract from Karachi's importance as the port. In fact, the Karachi port has been expanded considerably, as one can see along the Clifton Road, that we've got new quays, deep water quays, and that those are going to become useful in the future. So I think that that expansion is happening, and it's happening in that people have, private investors have put money into that in the expectation that these will be more fully utilized. Today, the picture seems somewhat dismal, given the fact that our exports are falling and our imports are increasing, but imports are not what generates employment and generates economic activity. But there is obviously the expectation that exports will pick up, and that is what has caused this investment in new maritime construction and in other aspects of life here. So I think Karachi has a chance to grow. And Karachi, I think, has a reputation to live up to. 10 years ago, perhaps 15, Karachi was known as Awam Dost. That you could have a meal here for 5 rupees. I'm talking about 15 years ago, not today. But you could have a meal for 5 rupees, you could have a meal for 500 rupees. And I'm not sure that it's true today, but I think that the prospects for Karachi moving back to that particular point, where it will continue to be the El Dorado for the hinterland, particularly for the Sindhi hinterland and for the southern Punjab hinterland, that is going to continue. And of course, we've had another phenomena which has made Karachi a truly Pakistani city, the influx of people from KPK into Karachi, so that they are now a very substantial part. Karachi is genuinely very cosmopolitan, very much a Pakistani city rather than merely a city of the capital of Sindh. It's a city which incorporates every Baloch, Pakhtun, Muhajir, Sindhi, all are Punjabi, they are all here. And it is the sort of mix that one hopes will help to develop the cohesion that we desperately need, and which perhaps could come from what Karachi becomes an industrial dynamo. It does develop these things. I know Arif Hussain Saab next is going to talk about all the problems that are associated with the city, particularly its sewerage problems and so on and so forth, and the problems of administration in Karachi. But I think that as long as there is investment pouring in or investment being made, these things will be corrected over time. Now, I'm not sure that we've got the sort of administration which will do it very quickly, but over time it's bound to happen. Thank you.
Arif Saab, I'm going to skip you for now, yes. And I'm going to move to Ms. Aqila Ismail, who has been associated with the Urangi pilot project for a long time, works there now. I wanted to ask you, actually, you gave me a nice metaphor to go with. Karachi as El Dorado, do you get a sense of that actually working out in the lives of the people you work with, the communities you work with in lower income neighborhoods?
I'll start first with the definition of the title, the boom town. I don't think Karachi was ever a boom town. Sorry, Haris.
Go ahead.
My take is that a boom town always means that there is a sudden influx of population which is associated with some economic activity. It's not that economic activity stems from the population growth, which is why then some boom towns become ghost towns, when that resource or that economic activity dies out. Karachi was not did not have an influx of population because of its economic importance, but because it's a sanctuary city. People have come in 1947 after the partition. They came here because cities, they were mainly from cities, so they came to this city. Then in 1971, when Bangladesh emerged out of the ashes of East Pakistan, people again came in large numbers because this city gave them a place to stay. This city offered them refuge. So, and then this city also offers refuge to people who are fleeing floods, who are fleeing economic downturns in their respective areas, etc. So, it's not a boom town because of economic activities, but it's a boom town because it gives space to everyone who comes to find themselves, to find space for themselves. And working in Orangi, when the Orangi pilot project began, I think Arif Hassan would bear me out, the population of OPP of Orangi was estimated at about 8 lakhs, and a large part of them were people who came from East Pakistan, the Urdu-speaking population that came from East Pakistan. And they mixed with people who came from up north, and you had seen the conflicts that took place in the 80s, etc. Now, from 8 lakh at that time, now, we estimate, of course, there has not been a census, but we estimate the population to be 22 lakhs, more than 22 lakhs, which means that Karachi Abadi now, Karachi Abadi, which is Orangi, now holds 10% of Karachi's population. And so, if we are to measure whether Karachi is still a livable place, Karachi is still offering refuge, Karachi is still offering economic sanctuary, then we have to look at Orangi very deeply. And I see the people I meet them, I see them, I work with them. I don't mean to sound condescending that I go and meet them, but seeing how Orangi has grown shows that there is so much that this city can offer if one is willing to work, if one is willing to gel, when it is free from conflict. It booms. I don't want to use the word in the classical sense, but it does grow. And added to this, to Orangi, you will see that there are these goats surrounding Orangi, which is in Gadab, in Baldia, in Bin Qasim, etc. And these goats have now come within the limit of Karachi, and this has added 30 million people, and they've become, instead of villages, they're now urban goats. So which means the city is growing with the population. Spatially also it is growing. And when I go every day, almost every other day or every day to Orangi, I see the markets bustling. You see huge, nowadays because oranges are in season, you see it orange everywhere. You see women coming and shopping, you see the bazaars bustling. And our interaction with the young men and women of Orangi, especially the young women of Orangi, shows that they are invested in the city. And as long as those people are invested in the city, this city will continue to grow. The city will continue to thrive. And it will do so in spite of the many investments that are made, because those investments are made over only 40% of the people. 60% of the people live in Karachi Abadis, who live their lives, who make the best of their lives, and they really do well. Because there is, maybe in spite of the fact that there is no government interference there, the government does not contribute, the state does not contribute to their well-being, and they make lives for themselves. So as long as they do that, I think they will do well. And Karachi will do well. Can we come back later?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Arif Saab, you need to weigh in now on the debate on the boomtown, but also I had a very brief, informal exchange with you yesterday where you let fall one of your many intriguing pieces of trivia or fact, that while the economy these days of Karachi has grown and is doing well, GDP per capita has gone down. Can you talk more about that?
Well, you said it, so there's nothing more to say.
Well,
The
what does it mean?
Economy is growing, yes, but GDP per capita, resource per capita, has declined considerably over the years. This question of boom, I think it's the wrong thing talking about a boom town. Let's see what is booming in Karachi and what is not booming in Karachi. Najmuddin Sheikh Saab spoke about the real estate sector. In Karachi, you have approximately 300,000 developed plots lying empty. You have 68,000 apartments lying empty. You have another approximately 600,000 plots being developed now. And you have over 100 buildings under construction right now that are between 20 and 50 stories. So, is this a boom? Considering the fact that this is of a purely speculative nature and extremely damaging to Karachi's future, the way it is being carried out. We can talk on that if you like, number one. Number two, in Karachi, in 2011, you had 28,000 minibuses. In 2016, you had less than 9,000. Is this a boom? You had, in 2004, just below 400,000 motorbikes. Today, you have over 2 million motorbikes. This is a boom, or is it a boom? I can go on. This immense disparity. Take employment. The surveys that we have done recently show double-digit unemployment in the settlements that we took a look at. Double-digit. It's increased substantially over the years. This is in spite of the fact that there have been investments. Your silk industry has wound up, your lighting engineering industry has shrunk to a minuscule because of Chinese goods. And the people who worked in these industries are out of a job. Many of them have migrated back to the Punjab. Recently, 2 years ago, we surveyed the silk-producing areas, and it was obvious from the surveys that they had gone back. So, I mean, this question of boom, you have both the things. There is a boom, yes, but at what cost, and what are the results of this boom in the long run? 16, I think figures may be wrong, exaggerated in some places, but by and large, I think they hold. 62% of the city lives on 36% of the total land, residential land, whereas, 23% of the total land, whereas 36% lives on 77% of the land. And those who live on the 23% of the land, they live in densities of anything between 1,500 to 4,000 persons per hectare, while the other settlements have less than 80 persons per hectare. And this process is continuing. Apart from its ecological issues that it is giving rise to, there are very social issues that emerge out of this, which we've discussed so often, and employment issues that emerge out of this pattern of land use. Is this sustainable? I think this is a question that we have to answer. And if it is not sustainable, then what form will this unsustainability take place? So I'll just give you an instance. When Akhtar Hamid Khan asked me to come and work with him in the Urangi pilot project, we made a plan of all the existing Kachchi Abadis at that time. This is 1981. He looked at the map and he said, this city is surrounded by volcanoes and they will erupt if there is no, they don't have water, sanitation, electricity, employment. We forgot about that. When I was doing documentation, we were going to nominate him for the Nobel Prize. So when we were doing that documentation, I asked him, I said, Dr. Saab, you said it would explode in 10 years, it's 30 years now. So he said, हाँ, ये तो हो गया है. शायद हमारी वजह से explode नहीं हुआ. Anyway, so I think it was an important thing that he said. So you have NGOs, you have foreign money, you have purchasing of activists into these projects and into this whole money game. I don't think that's the reason why it didn't explode, but I think that's one of the reasons why this thing that we admire so much called resilience has grown over the years. Thank you.
Haris, would you like to weigh in? On the question of
I take issue with the word resilience in this. Can we discuss it sometime?
Please.
Yes.
Would you like to say something about it?
I wish Karachi was not so resilient. I wish it was more resistant to what is happening. If it resisted, maybe things would have been different. If its people resisted injustice, inequality, unfairness, instead of being resilient and moving on and doing something new, I think the city would have taken a different shape. It would have I don't want to use the word stabilized, but it would have stabilized faster because there were people, that people were resisting this injustice that is heaped upon them, especially injustice to the poor. And so I don't know if being resilient is good.
Haris, can you address the question Arif Saab has raised about sustainability?
Sorry.
Go on.
Well, I think we've had a presentation of very sobering statistics. And as I pleaded earlier, I'm not an expert on this, but as a viewer, as a person with no detailed knowledge, I was rather surprised that when there are 66,000 apartments vacant, we still have apartment blocks going up. We have DHA coming up. We have
don't forget Bahria Town.
Bahria Town coming up. And obviously, I was told that the last, in DHS, no, in Bahria, the or the extra money that you pay for the plots which have been drawn in ballots is now 95 lakhs. The plot which theoretically costs 10 lakhs, the is 95 lakhs. Now, this seems to suggest that perhaps there is a greater degree of confidence among the business community or even the speculators. Frankly, we have more than our share of speculators in Karachi. We've got a stock market which has gone up 46%, and much of the stock market's the components are, well, may not be, a substantial part of the Karachi Stock Exchange companies are based in Karachi. It's gone up by 46% during the last year. I think perhaps there is a bubble there. Perhaps it's a bubble that's created by an extra sense of confidence. But you hear reports about the fact that maybe the Karachi Circular Railway has been resurrected, in which case perhaps it will make up for the fact that 28,000 minibuses have been reduced to 9,000, if I recall the figure correctly. And 2 million motorbikes does seem to suggest that the class that can, in terms of the amount of space that is occupied by these homeowners and the division between the poor and the rich that you explained so graphically, perhaps in the transport sector, more people are now able to afford mobility on their own rather than depending on public transport, which is not a good thing, environmentally or otherwise, but it does show that there is a certain amount of economic activity and a generation of wealth which can be spent in this particular direction. Again, I'm subject to correction on all these counts.
Not at all. Can I just
Please
respond
do.
briefly to this? I think what is important is to see where this money is coming from, which is being invested in real estate. We have put together this book called Karachi, the Land Issue. In that, we have given where this money is coming from. I don't wish to discuss that, but where it is coming from. This money is being whitened through this whole process of development. Regarding Defense City, Defense Housing Authority, Phase 8 is more than 60% vacant. So why on earth do you need a defense city? To control the trend that we have in Karachi, you need a very heavy non-utilization fee on land. And if you have that fee, land will become probably affordable to the middle class, which it is not at present. You are urgently in need of an urban land reform, without which this city and its ecology is going to be devastated. We have developed the perimeters of that land reform. We won't discuss it here. Regarding motorbikes, on my web there is a study, it's called Motorbike Mass Transit. It was a detailed study of why people buy motorbikes. It's not because they can afford them. The market has made it affordable to them by selling it on installments. Why? Because once a household gets a motorbike, its life changes completely. They go to their relatives, their children go to the parks and their life changes, social relations change, they save money, they go for entertainment and recreation. All that was not possible without a motorbike because you just simply didn't have the means or you didn't have the courage to brave the transport pressures. Also, I would like to respond to one of Haris's comments. I think, well, by and large, what Haris has said, I would agree with, because if you look at it from that angle, the angle that which you have looked at, Haris. But as far as figures are concerned, stabilizing, 3% growth in between 1941 and 1947 is a very small growth. But 2% growth in between 1998 and today is a huge growth. So I think the figures today, we should talk in actual figures because the demographic situation has changed rather than in percentage terms. And stabilization, therefore, I think means perhaps something different.
Yeah, I mean, so it unsettles existing political arrangements. So when Karachi became part of the British Indian Empire, it unsettled an existing political arrangement in which Karachi had been a port which served both Khalat and Sindh. It paid tribute to both. If you know Karachi, if you know Liari, there's a place called Meera Naka. So it's not Meera the actress, it's Meera. So it's the Naka of the Meers. So it's the point where the Meers used to collect taxation. Right? So Karachi's geography tells you that historically it had a connection with its hinterland, which got massively disturbed every time a new opportunity arose. The same thing happened in 1947 when a settled situation, when Karachi was the prime city of Sindh, it was a place of opportunity of people of Sindh as well as the other parts of the hinterland, and all of a sudden you had a new situation. So a good situation for many people, but nevertheless, the political arrangements that underpin a city, they become unsettled. So it takes time for them to resettle again. So when I talk of demographic stability, that the rate of growth will continue to decline. Karachi will become, a stable part of Pakistan's population at around 8.5 to 9%. What it means is that over time, there is an opportunity to re-establish political arrangements which will not be unsettled again very quickly. And we already see that happening. So there is acceptance now within Karachi and within Sindh about the political status of Karachi in Sindh. So it's a very important advance that we have had. Right? So you've had moments in Karachi's history where powerful political forces have argued for separating Karachi from Sindh. I think that issue is dead now. And I think it's good that it is a dead issue. There are important issues of balance between Karachi, the rest of Sindh, and then the Sindh and the rest of Pakistan. I think. Let me answer the question the way I want to, and I think you will have the chance to speak.
Ma'am, we'll have a chance in the Q&A to speak.
Of course, I'm talking a lot of rubbish, but I will carry on. Now, the point is that when you are in a boomtown mode, you can't actually understand what the political settlements will be. And today, we are in a situation where we can, and all of the major elites that rule Karachi, we can see them gradually coming to some kind of an agreement. And there are lots of anecdotes and there are lots of realities around that. Now, I think there is one very important political kind of cleavage which remains unsettled. And I think that's something that both Aqila and Arif Sahab have talked about, which is that in the old days, there were settled parameters for conducting class struggles and class conflicts. And that is finished now. You don't have traditional trade unions anymore. The last major trade union movement took place in the 1960s, the early 70s. And a lot of the class struggle now in Karachi is really around this issue of Kachi Abadis, about development, about who owns land. Every time, actually, if you talk about the Karachi Circular Railway, immediately you're opening up one vista of class struggle. A lot of people will lose their homes. Where will they go? So we actually now need more creative ways of responding to the class cleavages in Karachi at a time when we have an opportunity to stabilize other elements of political instability. Thank you.
Thank you, Haris. Arif Saab, you mentioned that unemployment is going up.
Yes, well, there are various. On the one hand, industrialists tell us, I mean, this is in the pink pages of Dawn, I have no other source of information, that they need over 100,000 skilled people a year. They can't get people with skills. Well, this city has 56 degree awarding institutions. And it has 3 polytechnics. So where do you get the skilled people from? These are the imbalances in development because of which you have unemployment. This is one of the reasons. It's not the only reason. There are other factors also. There's a massive closing down of informal sector activities, especially small-scale leather industry. If you look at it, it's shut down. Again, it's Chinese goods. So you have a large-scale unemployment because of this. But I think the major issue, because Haris mentioned politics, and I think that's extremely important in the growth of any city. Sometimes the potential of the city shapes politics, and very often politics shape the city. So in our case, this is a very important factor, and it's not, Karachi is not the only city in the world that has this problem. Karachi is a non-Sindhi speaking city of a Sindhi speaking province, capital city. And the Sindhi speaking population can only control its capital through a highly centralized system of governance. And the Urdu-speaking population can only control it through a highly decentralized system of governance, because it is not in a majority even in Karachi. So I think this tension has led to a restructuring of Karachi institutions. And that restructuring, unfortunately, has damaged Karachi substantially. Not because it was the theoretical basis of that restructuring, but the practical manner in which it has been done, along with large-scale corruption, which has been there for a long, long time. It's nothing new, only it has increased. So this tension, I feel, would need a resolution of some sort to make it possible that the capital city of Sindh can be for the benefit of everybody.
Bombay has a similar issue.
Bombay has the same problem. Many megacities have this problem where the local population is a minority. Bombay has this. Shiv Shinak in Bombay was born out of this. And in the case of Istanbul, you have the Kurdish population that now is larger than the local Turkish-speaking population. In the case of Bangkok, you have the red shirts and the yellow shirts. The red shirts are from the province of Assam, by and large. So this is a problem that most megacities will have to resolve in some way or the other.
Has anyone done a decent or creative job of resolving this problem that Karachi might look to?
There is a lot of theoretical literature on this, and one had hoped that one would see that in Thailand this matter would be resolved through negotiations. But the army has taken over, so the negotiations are finished.
Can I make 3 points? Yes. On the point of the value of real estate going up, for example, in Bahria town, as you mentioned, this does not signify a boom. It just shows that many more people are left behind in this speculative kind of development. And also places like Bahria town and DHA city, etc., are a symbol of how hundreds and thousands of poor are evicted and moved away to make room for a few hundred rich people. So that kind of development is unacceptable, and it only creates more inequality. It is not a factor of development, in my opinion. Number 2, you said that this issue of Karachi ceding or becoming independent or becoming a different unit is a settled issue. I think people said that of East Pakistan as well. It's never a settled issue as long as there are conflicts of resource management, as long as there is the question of centralized authority and decentralized authority. There will always remain the possibility that there will be movements in which people will seek to liberate themselves for the sake of resources. So these 2 points I wanted to make.
You know, speaking from a base of profound ignorance, as I confessed earlier, I don't know enough about the essential problems of Karachi. But from what I've heard now, it seems to me that we talk about the Karachi circular... It seems to me that we talk about the Karachi circular railway displacing people. And we talk at the same time about the fact that there are an enormous number of vacant plots. It seems that some measure could be worked out to reconcile these two. That those who are displaced by the Karachi circular railway, and I don't think anybody disputes the fact that bringing in the Karachi circular railway would ease many of the problems that exist, as will, of course, the theoretical bus lines, the new bus lines that are being created. Again, I am not wholly familiar with what the routes are going to be and what sort of traffic they will generate, but these both seem to suggest to me that there's movement forward. Second, I think what Arif Saab said about motorcycles and the change in the lifestyle that it represents, this to me is very important. I think that one of the changes in the lifestyle is going to be smaller families. And therefore, the growth that you spoke of and the fact that the population will stabilize 8 to 9% of Pakistan's total population, I think may continue to come from migration rather than from growth within Karachi itself. And when that happens, then there is a great deal more that is going to happen in terms of correcting what you pointed out, the tensions between non-Sindhi speaking metropolitan city as the capital of a Sindhi speaking province. I think those tensions, I had talked earlier about the fact that Karachi is probably now, it is without doubt the most cosmopolitan city in Pakistan, but that it will grow to be even more so, because I think what we talk about as Urdu speaking or what some people call the Urdu speaking Sindhis will be a diminishing proportion of the total population in Karachi. It has always been felt that the Sindhi, if asked to move, says that if you ask me to move 3 miles, he says, why are you sending me to a foreign land? But that has changed. Now suddenly the Sindhi in search of employment is prepared to move to Karachi, is prepared to move further afield. And that in itself, as I think, is a dynamism that is going to be good from Karachi's perspective and good from Pakistan's perspective. Lastly, I think Arif Saab's points with regard to the shortages that we are going to have. We need better administration. I mean, anybody who would deny the fact that Karachi needs to be administered like a modern city. Alia pointed to the fact that Bombay has its problems, but Bombay has, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I recall correctly, Karachi has Bombay has a metropolitan corporation which is, has a lot of local powers that it continues to exercise, and perhaps we have to move in that particular direction. In any case, my last point would be that, look, much of the prosperity of Pakistan is going to be dependent on the prosperity of Karachi. And and for that reason alone, not only should we all as Karachiites hope the best for this, but I think all Pakistanis should hope that we are able to set right.
Absolutely. We have time left now for some questions. There are a lot of questions, so please keep it brief.
Okay. Issues are plenty, solutions are very few. I am a Shahri citizen for better environment. My question goes to Arif Saab. Do you think that since building control authorities who have been giving permission for these high-rise, not understanding the ethos of the water supply, the sewerage, and so many other things, unpicked solid waste littering around Karachi in thousands of tons, which is unpicked, nobody looks after it. Now, please try to say something on this issue which is so important, and when these high-rise will have a shortfall of the water and the tankers mafia will be flourishing and will be taking a road and will be in such a suffering. Please do inform on the subject.
Thank you. Arif Saab. Water and sewage.
देखिए ये तो मसले हैं पता है सिंध बिल्डिंग कंट्रोल अथॉरिटी जो इजाज़त दे रही है पहले वो गैर कानूनी तौर पे इजाज़त देती थी अब वो कानूनी तौर पे इजाज़त दे दी है क्योंकि आपकी सिंध असेंबली ने ऐसे कवानीन पास कर लिए हैं जिसके तहत ये इमारतें बिल्कुल लीगल हैं नंबर 1 उसूलन ये बननी चाहिए एक अर्बन डिज़ाइन एक्सरसाइज के नतीजे में इस किस्म की कोई अर्बन डिज़ाइन एक्सरसाइज कराची के लिए नहीं हुई ये दुनिया में कहीं नहीं होता जो यहाँ हो रहा है मैं ये कहूँगा कि पानी आ सकता है ये भी कहूँगा कि सूरज आ सकता है मैं ये कहूँगा कि बिजली भी आ सकती है ये मुमकिन है मगर जिस किस्म की एक्सपर्टीज़ और जिस किस्म के इदारे हैं हमारे यहाँ ये शायद ना आए जल्दी सबसे बड़ा जो मसला है वो ये है कि ये जो डेवलपमेंट है ये गाड़ियाँ जनरेट करेगी और आप उन गाड़ियों को अकोमोडेट नहीं कर सकेंगे। 2015 में आपने 900 गाड़ियाँ 902 गाड़ियाँ हर रोज़ रजिस्टर की हैं और पिछले 6 महीने में 6-7 महीने हो गए, अब 7 महीने में आपने 800 मोटरसाइकिलें रोज़ रजिस्टर की हैं। तो ये जो इमारतें हैं ये ट्रैफिक जनरेट करेंगी जिसे आप मैनेज नहीं कर सकेंगे।
It's a question here.
I think the solution also lies in decentralization of the government, which the powers that be do not want, because as Arif Hassan said, they want to consolidate power in the, because if they decentralize, the power goes to the people of Karachi, and if they centralize it, it remains within their grasp. So that is not going to happen unless the government is decentralized. So we can talk all we want about sewage and etc. It is not going to happen unless this step is taken.
Question here.
जी, हर शाख पे उल्लू बैठा है, अंजामे गुलिस्तान क्या होगा? बूम फारसी में
पहले तो गुलिस्तान हो
और जी उस पे भी आते हैं। बूम फारसी में उल्लू को कहते हैं। In that respect, Karachi is really booming. अच्छा अब आइए, आपके 5000 साल पहले मोहनजोदड़ो 20,000 की आबादी थी। हर घर में पानी के निकास का और पानी पहुंचाने का इंतज़ाम था। 5000 साल के बाद आज कराची में बेहतरीन इलाक़ों में ना पानी के पहुंचाने का इंतज़ाम है, ना पानी के निकास का इंतज़ाम है। क्या इसकी वजह यह है कि शहरी अपनी ज़िम्मेदारी को नहीं समझ रहे? आप लोग तो सब लगता है बाहर से आए हैं, ज़रा शहरियों को थोड़ा एड्रेस कर दीजिए।
I think maybe that was already answered in the previous question. Gentleman in the pink checked shirt had raised his hand many times.
My question is to Arif Hassan sir. I would say, sir, all the problems of Karachi. I'm a long time Karachiite, by the way. मेरा सवाल ये है कि जी अगर ये जो इश्यूज़ हैं एम्प्लॉयमेंट के, सैनिटेशन के, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के, हाउसिंग के बहुत सारे, इट विल ऑल बी सॉल्व्ड अगर हम सिंध का कैपिटल जो है एक नई सिटी बना दें और कराची के ऊपर प्रेशर्स कम हो जाएंगे। उसके ऊपर आप
मैं तो इसको तस्लीम करने के लिए कभी भी तैयार नहीं हूँगा। कराची सिंध का कैपिटल है और जब ये बॉम्बे प्रेसिडेंसी का भी हिस्सा था तब भी ये उस डिस्ट्रिक्ट का कैपिटल था
1929।
और इसका जो रिश्ता है एज अ कैपिटल वो मेरे नज़दीक सिंध के सूबे से जुड़ा हुआ है। तो और वैसे भी इस किस्म के जो फैसले होते हैं, हम कैपिटल ले गए थे ना यहाँ से उठा के इस्लामाबाद, क्या हुआ उससे पहले, कैपिटल जाने से पहले आपकी जो यकजहती थी ईस्ट पाकिस्तान के साथ वो बुरी तरह मुतासिर हुई और इसकी तफसीलात बहुत लोगों ने अपनी किताबों में लिखी है। ख़ास तौर से you read the literature that has come out of Bengal, of Bangladesh, post 1971. तो मेरे ख्याल में, मेरी अपनी राय में यही है सिंध का दारुल खिलाफ।
Next question.
So this is for Arif Saab and Haris Saab. Akhtar Hamid Khan की जो आपने वोल्केनो की बात की थी,
कहाँ हैं आप?
I'm here. I'm here.
खड़े हो जाइए।
So it's clear that Karachi is progressing in one way or the other, whether it's structural or superficial is a different story. But what is very clear is a rising cost of living and an increasing disparity between rich and poor. And how does this bode for a city that is hoping to progress?
Haris,
कराची के जो इश्यूज़ हैं, कराची का एक जो यूनिक पहलू है ना वो पाकिस्तान में और कुछ छोटे और शहरों का है, लेकिन कराची इज़ वेरी यूनिक इन दिस कि उसके जो बहुत सारे मसले होते हैं और शहरों के, उनको सॉल्व किया जाता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मींस के ज़रिए। अगर आप कराची को इस्लामाबाद और लाहौर से कंपेयर करें तो लाहौर और इस्लामाबाद में एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा होल्ड है। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के इस्तेमाल के ज़रिए बहुत सारे म्यूनिसिपल इश्यूज़ और बहुत सारे क्लास के इश्यूज़ जो हैं वो रिजॉल्व किए जाते हैं। तो कराची जो है वो इस तरह से यूनिक है कि इसमें ये सारे इश्यूज़ जो हैं वो पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस और मार्केट्स के ज़रिए सॉल्व किए जाते हैं। अब किस हद तक कामयाबी से सॉल्व किए जाते हैं वो ज़ाहिर है कि सवाल है, क्योंकि अगर लोगों के पास पीने को पानी नहीं है, सीवरेज नहीं है, बिजली अगर नहीं आती तो इसका मतलब है कि बहुत कामयाबी से सॉल्व नहीं किए जा रहे। लेकिन क्या कराची में आपके पास एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव तरीके हैं चीज़ें सॉल्व करने के? मेरे ख्याल में वो नहीं है। मेरा ख्याल है कि ये बहुत अच्छा सवाल है कि लंदन कर रहा है कि नहीं कर रहा। मेरा ख्याल अपना ये है कि मेरा ख्याल है कि हमें से कोई भी बाहर से नहीं है।
हम सब कराची के
मेरे ख्याल में सब लोग कराची में ही रहते हैं, यही काम करते हैं। और हम कम से कम, मैं तो कराची का ही उल्लू हूँ, बाकी जो है वो मेरे ख्याल में नहीं है। तो कहने का मकसद ये है कि कराची जो है वो कोई एक शख्स कंट्रोल नहीं करता। ये कभी नहीं हुआ, कभी नहीं हुआ ये। कराची जो है वो उसमें चीज़ें बहुत, जब मुश्किल टाइम भी आया है यहाँ पर तो पॉलिटिकली सेटल हुई हैं। इस चीज़ को हमें समझना पड़ेगा। ये जो ख्याल है कि आप किसी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मेजर के ज़रिए किसी भी शहर में कोई मसला हल कर लेंगे, मेरे ख्याल में कराची में ये बिल्कुल लागू नहीं होता। तो आपका जो सवाल है, मेरा ख्याल है कि उसका जवाब ये है कि पॉलिटिकल प्रोसेस उसको चलने दें और उसके साथ साथ जो मार्केट के प्रोसेस है उनको चलने दें। वो कराची के लिए किसी न किसी इक्विलिब्रियम सोल्यूशन को निकालते हैं।
जी,
क्वेश्चन देयर।
जी, thanks a lot for allowing me to speak.
Please keep the mic close.
Ji, Arif Saab, because unfortunately I know all of them. I don't know if they know me. My name is Mehtab Kareem. Ji, I'm a demographer, so I do a lot of study of population trends, and I'm doing that in Karachi nowadays. I have one thing about the boom town. Karachi is no more a town, it's a mega city. It has more people than New York City, by the way, according to the United Nations. So that's what we have to see, that mega city is something which is city of cities, okay? And it's number 7 in the world. I think they have to correct the title. I would, when Haris said that it's not a boom town, I don't know what we mean by boom. It has 25% of Pakistan's GDP. Economically, yes. Population-wise, it has already exceeded 10% of Pakistan's population and growing. As a matter of fact, I'm a member of the census committee, and they would want to make it sure that they don't give it enough counts. In 1998,
Is there going to be a census?
Hopefully, 15th of March. I just came from the committee meeting yesterday, so yes, they are going to have it because Supreme Court has asked them to do the census.
There will be, all our teachers have been asked to report
and
to
as a
duty.
matter of fact, I would request all those who are present and not present to have yourself counted. Because my feeling is that Sindh is going to be under-counted as they did it in 1998 census, so that the percentage of population living in Sindh remains the same as it was in 1981, 1998, perhaps. So that's a very important issue, but I would like to come back to my question. My question is that, well, I mean, Arif has given a lot of information, but I worked on the mass transit system in the 1990s on behalf of the World Bank in Karachi. And what they call some mafia, Arif knows about it, they didn't want it to happen, and it didn't happen. And that's why we have about 2 million motorcycles, and according to the most recent data I have, about 1 million cars in Karachi and growing. What is going to happen to, we don't have a mass transit system at all. People are against it still. For some of the other reasons, KCR, circular railway is not coming up. So where are we going to go? Question is from Arif. Thank you.
I think you answered the question, did you not? Huh?
Can you, Mehtab, make the question slightly easier for me to answer? No, we are not going to move ourselves, and I can tell you that if all the 5, ये 5 BRTs बन रहे हैं, अगर ये पांचों के पांचों बन जाएं, जो कि नहीं बनेंगे, अगर पांचों के पांचों बन जाएं, तो ये सिर्फ कोई 7% कम्यूटिंग पब्लिक को सर्व करेंगे, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं करने। अगर आपको लोगों को सवारी देनी है तो आपको बसों की ज़रूरत होगी, आरामदेह बसों की, बड़ी बसों की, उसी के ज़रिए लोग आ जा सकेंगे। ये तो कॉरिडोर्स है। Nobody is going to come from a distance to this corridor. और ये सब जगह मसला यही है, दिल्ली का है, बम्बई का है, कराची का तो खैर है ही, बैंकॉक का है, ये सारे शहरों का ये मसला है कि ये जो है कॉरिडोर, दे सर्व a small percentage of the population and they are useful, yes, certainly, मगर वो मसला तो हल नहीं कर सकते जब तक ये इसके साथ कोई आपका बस सिस्टम ना हो। अगर बस सिस्टम होगा, we'll move ourselves, और अगर सबको मोटरसाइकिलें ही खरीदनी हैं तो फिर इन कॉरिडोर्स की क्या ज़रूरत है, इस मैस ट्रांजिट सिस्टम की क्या ज़रूरत है? कॉरिडोर साइकिलों पे से आप टैक्स हटा दें, 20-22 हज़ार की मोटर बाइक हो जाएगी 50cc एंड लेट एवरीवन बाय इट। हमने जो स्टडी की थी उसमें 80% लोग जो खड़े थे, 500 surveys of men and women, 82% men said who were standing at bus stops, हमें मोटरसाइकिल खरीदनी है। 55% women, उन्होंने कहा हमें इजाज़त चाहिए मोटरसाइकिल चलाने की। अच्छा, तो ये आपके हक़ाइक़ हैं, आप सपोर्ट कर लें मोटर बाइक्स को और बंद कर दें ये आपका जो इतने महंगे सिस्टम्स करोड़ों के जो आप बना रहे। नजमुद्दीन शेख साहब ने इसका जिक्र किया, इसका सर्कुलर रेलवे का बहुत अहम प्रोजेक्ट है, मगर इसकी जो कॉस्ट है इट इज़ 150 मिलियन रुपीज़, और इसकी अगर जापानीज़ लोन जो निगोशिएट हुई थी, अगर आपको वो भी वापस करनी है और ये सिस्टम भी चलाना है तो ये 150 रुपये से ज़्यादा का टिकट होगा पर ट्रिप, और ये आपको सब्सिडाइज करना पड़ेगा। और आपकी कराची की सारी प्रीवियस जो स्कीम्स थी ट्रांसपोर्ट की, वो फेल इस वास्ते हुई, और अच्छी स्कीम्स थी क्योंकि हुकूमत को जो सब्सिडी देनी थी वो उसने वो सब्सिडी नहीं दी, एंड द स्कीम्स डिडंट वर्क। जो बसें थी इट टर्न टू ट्रैश।
Time's up, so we're going to take one last question. Yes, the young lady.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. This is Abeda Basi. I'm a student of International Relations. I'm sorry I have missed quite a bit lecture, but I just wanted to ask because of, to Mr. Haris actually, because of lack of planning and failed administration, we are suffering from the development projects named Green Line right now, because I have just continuing the point of the sir, this project is not connecting, these corridors are not connecting the most emerging populated areas of Gulistani-Johar, of Gulshan, of some other North Karachi and all. So what is the main benefit which will be taken by citizens?
Green line.
Sorry.
Well, she was asking you.
Yeah.
You want to hand it over. Okay.
Sorry, I have no information on the green line.
देखें, जो ग्रीन लाइन बन रही है उसकी जो कंपनी है जो हुकूमत ने बनाई है उसके बोर्ड पे हूँ मैं, और आपकी बात बिल्कुल सही है, इसमें गलती नहीं है, मगर फ़ायदा इन लाइनों से बहुत होगा। मेरी राय मुख्तलिफ थी, मेरा ये ख्याल था कि हमें इन लाइनों की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बल्कि 13 मेजर कॉरिडोर्स हैं कराची के, उन पे आप एक लेन बनाएं अलग करके बस के लिए, एक बस का इंतखाब करें कि ये बस चलेगी कराची में, उसके लिए आप कर्ज़े दें, आप एक इदारा बनाएं जहाँ कंडक्टर्स ट्रेन हो, जहाँ ड्राइवर्स ट्रेन हो, जहाँ ट्रांसपोर्ट मैनेजर्स ट्रेन हो, और जिनके पास सनद है वो इस ट्रांसपोर्ट सिस्टम को ऑपरेट करें। मगर हुकूमतें इस तरह नहीं सोचती, वो इस तरह से सोचती हैं कि हम कोई दिल्ली से कम हैं कि हम लाइट रेल ना बनाएं, इस तरह सोचती हैं। और मैंने ये बातें सुनी हैं। ये प्रोजेक्ट था सर्कुलर रेलवे का जो 18 बिलियन में डिलीवर हो सकता था पाकिस्तान की हुकूमत रेलवेज़ के ज़रिए से, ये शॉट डाउन हुआ बिकॉज दैट was not modern enough, it did not have smart technology in it. और ये मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ 18 साल पुरानी बात, ये उस वक्त बन जाता.
Missed opportunities.
I'm sorry, we have to. सवाल बहुत से हुए, जवाब भी मिले. 1 घंटे में कराची के मसाइल ख़त्म तो नहीं हो जाएंगे. So we need to wrap up now. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
ये नहीं, इनका ले ले इनका. बहुत मुस्तकिल हाथ उठाया हुआ था इन्होंने शुरू से. ले. Take his question.
आप आ जाएं.
आइए आप पूछे.
नहीं, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं ये इनका.
प्लीज आप अपना सवाल कर लीजिए.
आप कर लीजिए. नहीं, आ जाइए.
सवाल कर लीजिए.
आ जाइए.
आप अपना सवाल कर लीजिए.
जुनेजो साहब आइए. जुनेजो साहब आप सवाल कीजिए. आप बिल्कुल कीजिए सवाल.
My question is, what effects this exercise of disconnecting and reconnecting Karachi with Sindh has created? And when I say disconnecting, I mean physically and mentally. And when I ask about effects, I say politically, economically, socially and culturally. What effects its exercise has created?
मेरा ख्याल है कि कराची को आप डिस्कनेक्ट नहीं कर सकते सिंध के साथ. कराची का जो है वो फ्यूचर वो सिंध के साथ ही. उसके असरात हमने देखे हैं कि कांस्टेंट जो है वो रीनेगोशिएशन ऑफ पॉलिटिकल सेटलमेंट. मेरा व्यू ये है कि अब हमारे पास एक अपॉर्चुन मोमेंट है कि आप डेमोग्राफिक स्टेबिलिटी की वजह से आप पॉलिटिकल स्टेबलाइजेशन की तरफ जा सकते हैं.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the session is over. Thank you for coming and enjoying the session. The closing sessions are going to begin in the lawn shortly. Thank you.